Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel to another video. As promised, today I'm going to show how I made the Amazon warrior or the water warrior lord of Lords of Magic. So as you can see, I've started with a Genesis 2 female full body suit, and I first copied a part of this for the chest plating. So basically this is kind of a dress, as you can see, that has additional plating. If you go back to the very beginning of the video, you can see the in-game model, which doesn't really give me anything. There's even a picture in the manual which doesn't really tell me anything. So I had a lot of leeway, a lot of free options to build this model myself, and I sat down, or I settled for a certain feeling. I tried to import a few things of the Wonder Woman movies, because I felt like if they are called Amazonians in the game, in the lore, the Lords of Water, or female, or Amazons, I decided that I want to go for a similar style. I definitely did not want to sexualize this look, or at least the least as possible. So I decided to go for a very completed look. I didn't want to have any unnecessary skin that is shown. Also, if you skip to the render at the end, we'll see that I decided to go for a darker tone, for a darker skin tone, because from the model, again, if you jump back to the beginning, you can see that they have quite a dark skin tone, and I think this, or at least this is my interpretation, this is what I think is meant. If not, then you can correct me, but this is what I went with and what I am going with anyway. But yeah, if you have any other idea of how this is actually meant, then let me know in the comments, and I will see what I can do about the other two women. But there is a big chance that I will go with the same skin tone, the same vibe here, because this is what I feel is meant. The plating is basically just a grid that I then set on the Genesis 2 full body suit, which is covering the top half of the body. The bottom half of the body is covered by a skirt that I then added on to the model, and the side plates are basically another ornamental thing that also has some minor protection. But I feel like this model does not rely on the armor too much. It doesn't have that half an armor stud. In the game, I think there's actually a shield that the fighter, or the warrior lord, can equip, can use, that has some stats for them, but the model itself, I'm not sure if it has a shield or not. Also, I tried to work with the idea of shells, of seashells on this model, and that would have come in handy with the shield if I made it. So there is a chance that if I ever use the Lords of Magic content in something like, I don't know, a small game in Unreal Engine 5, in something, I don't know, then there's a chance, big chance, that I will make a shield for the Amazon warrior character. Yeah, you can see that now that I'm done with the armor platings on the chest, I'm adding the remaps before I copy paste the side over from the right side to the body to the left side, so both sides are covered. I'm editing the underskirt a bit, or the underclothing a bit, and then I'm adding the edges in the rims slight adjustment to the armor plating before I finish with this part. And then I'm going to go for the skirt. The first idea was to make the skirt from scratch, and the second idea was to just simply copy paste the lowest of the face rows, or face rows, and then use the extrude tool to go from there. So this is really just the extrude tool and a bit of adjustment manually on my part, and that's about it. Then a bit of dissociating so I can open the skirt. The idea of the open skirt is actually to give the warrior the ability to move if I'm not usually wearing skirts, and unusually I also don't wear skirts, but I was thinking that it is actually very hard to move in a rather tight body conforming skirt. So I could either make the skirt bigger, which would add more weight, which would add more fluff to it, and especially with the platings, with the side plating that I'm currently working on, it would not work out that well. So I'm currently working out the side plating here. I'm using the extrusion tool on the grid to give it a bit more detail, to give it a bit more feel to it, so that it actually is a three-dimensional model. This is basically, at this step, this is easier than if I would try to make a texture for it and to make a normal map or a bump map for it, because I'm better at using hexagon than I am at using GIMP, which would be the tool of choice to make a map. But I will probably get to the point where I can actually make bump maps and normal maps for things as well. One issue that I encountered while doing this was that I actually thickened the model and finished the model before I copied it, so I could have two different colors for the inside and the outside, or the broader side of this and the inside. So I had to trick a bit, which was copy pasting just a part of this as a new flat surface and then adjusting this to the side shape so that this works. Also I added some edges so that it is a complete model. I'm editing this a bit to put it in the front of the body. This is actually going to get a little bit errated or a little bit altered. I'm just moving it up a bit so that it actually would protect the belly a bit without hindering too much, so the character can still bend if she wanted to, basically. And then I copy pasted the same thing in the back. First I thought about making a different design for the front and the back, but I basically just ran out of time because this took way longer than expected. So I just had to shortcut this a bit and copy paste a few parts that I did not want to. I also thought about adding a few ornaments on the armor platings on the top, but this also fell down basically to timing on my side. This is the making of the main armor. And next up we're going to check out the arms, the upper arms specifically. Here is the model for the upper arms. It is relatively simple. It is meant to be a seashell, which is kind of the theme that I sense of the water warriors, of the water factor of the water tribe. You can see that I'm using a simple cylinder here, a simple tube that I then alter with a disconnect and then rearrange the patterns to give it this cone shape. You will see this later again in a bit more detail when I do the helmet. It is the cone shape, then it is not extracted, it is extruded upwards. I'm adding a line with the add tool, with the connect tool, and then it gets extruded again just to give it this simple shape before we go on to the legs. So I just did this very quickly, very simple. I could have, I originally wanted to do it more, wanted to give it more protection over the shoulder, but I decided not to. One, for because of time, and two, because of the complications of building it around the shoulder without making it too complex and without it actually distorting when the character moves around the shoulders. Next thing was the shoes. I actually have a finished boot model that I can, a base boot model that I can use. So again, just using base models for shoes for body is a lot of help, because it quickens the whole process so much. And I created the ornament from a grid and then aligned it along with the shoe. The good thing is that I can align this very roughly, because I am aware, I know that I will later use the thickening tool on it to give it the perceived, or give it the actual depth, so I don't have to add too much. I don't have to use the connect tool to add lines, for example, because in the end part of this will clip into the shoe, as you can see here, so it's fine if it doesn't fit perfectly at the beginning. I copy part of the foot to give it a bit more protection on top, so this is really just a simple add to give it a bit more protection that is not in any way clearly added or glued to the shoe. Yeah, and I actually made the shoes flat, because as a warrior it would be very unusual to fight in heels, so I decided to go with a flat shoe. And lastly, I went on to make the helmet. I used a pre-existing hairstyle here because it felt around the right one for this character. And again, making a new hairstyle from scratch is something that is very, very time consuming. I might do this on the weekend when I do the next character, if I do it on the weekend, or I will see that I make the next character on the weekend, so that I have the time to actually give it a hairstyle. Yeah, and the helmet is just a very simple shape around the hair that is fit to fit this specific hairstyle, so it won't really work with other hairstyles. There's a copy paste of for the brim of the lower part of the helmet, and then the horns are actually again the idea of shells. You can see that I'm disconnecting a part here, then extruding the topmost line after rearranging the whole tube, and that's about it. There is your thing. There's the extrusion of the single line, so that I actually have this spiral going around, and then I copy pasted this. So that's it for the set. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will hopefully see you in the next one. Until then, stay healthy, stay safe, and I will definitely see you guys around.